Today we're talking about how to write a partnership agreement. So aside from the obvious answer of have a lawyer draft it for you, if you're interested in wondering about what types of terms would go into a partnership agreement, we will address that today. Hey there, this is attorney Sarah Holmes of Holmes Business Law P.C. We are a business and trademark law firm, also offering general counsel subscription services to the business owners. So first of all, be careful with the language that you use because technically a partnership agreement means a partnership between two people, which sounds easy, but that also tends to mean that you might not have a formal entity that you have formed to protect yourselves. So that would be a partnership. If you formed an LLC with another person, then that document is your operating agreement, and typically partnership terms go into that operating agreement. If you have formed a corporation, those terms go into a shareholder agreement. So first is being careful with the language around what type of document you need. We see a lot of people that form an LLC with another person and they have both an operating agreement and a partnership agreement because they don't really know what the difference is, and those might have contradictory terms, and that will cause you a bunch of problems later on if there are some issues with the partnership or business membership in the LLC. So the first thing you got to think about is what is the equity breakdown for the members if it's an LLC or the shareholders in a corporation or the partners. So for example, you can have a 50-50 ownership interest. You could be 60-40, you can be 90-10. Whatever it is you come up with, that can be your equity breakdown, and that should definitely be a term in your agreement. Second would be the voting rights. Do the voting rights follow the equity? Meaning if I own 90% of the business, do my votes in running the business count for 90%? Or is it one vote per person, where if it's myself and another person, I get one vote and my partner gets one vote? So decide on what type of voting you want. Next, you want to decide on what are the limits of each person's authority. The last thing you want when you're in a partnership with someone is for that person to be able to go to the bank and withdraw all your money out of the bank account. So if you have restrictions around what they can and can't do, that should definitely be put in an operating agreement. You also might want to say that on certain issues, rather than a majority vote, maybe you need a unanimous vote. So maybe something like selling the business, maybe a merger, maybe admitting a new member. Maybe those are types of decisions that would have to be unanimous rather than a majority vote. And you got to think that through very clearly, because sometimes unanimous votes can really gum up your business and cause problems, whereas a majority vote, if you assuming that it's not 50-50, could always ensure that the business can keep running potentially smoothly, because there will always be someone to make sure that decisions are made and can move forward. The next thing you want to think about is what if someone wants to leave the business? Under what conditions can they leave? Would they have to be paid out? And how much potentially would a payout be worth? That is typically also encapsulated in an operating agreement or a shareholder agreement. Next would be whether you want the partners to agree to a non-compete. So if one partner were to leave the business, they shouldn't be able to take the things that they got from the business and go use them to set up a competing company. In order for that not to happen, you really need to have that spelled out in the operating agreement. So it could be a duty of loyalty to the LLC, a duty of loyalty of the shareholders, and that are typically things that you want to have agreed upon ahead of time. These are the typical issues that you would have in a partnership agreement or an operating agreement if you're an LLC, and a shareholder agreement if you are a corporation. We have clients all the time come to us where they might not have anything in writing, and typically they're disappointed to find out that they are going to be stuck with the state's default rules, meaning that those rules may not be in their favor, and the state's going to decide what happens to your business and your partnership if you can't get along. One way to solve this is to make sure that you do work with a competent attorney to help you with any disagreements. You can also feel free to download our business checklist available below. And if you need help further, feel free to reach out to our office, 215-482-0285. Thanks.